Good day and welcome to The Story Behind the Stories. I'm Ken Waddell, owner and publisher of the Neepawa Banner, Neepawa Press, and the Rivers Banner, and the mywestman.ca website. With me today I have Kate Jackman Atkinson, who is the editor of all those publications, and also Owen Devereaux, who is sports and news reporter for the Banner and for the Press. And we've got a long list of stories today. We've had a couple of technical glitches here. We had a couple of good jokes that we started off with here. I pretended to forget Owen's name, but Owen, your name is unforgettable.
That memorable an employee for you, Ken.
E-O-I-N. What does that mean?
Means Owen.
No, it's deeper than that, Owen. Come on.
Okay, all right. Just very quickly, because we have so much to get into today,
Okay,
Ken.
I'm sorry.
Owen, E-O-I-N. It's a Gaelic name. I'm from Ireland, as you can tell from the accent.
And the French name.
Yes. So it's Gaelic, and when you translate it to English, it's just John. So you could just call me Johnny D.
Johnny D.
I
There
think we
go.
should implement that.
Yes.
Johnny D.
And next
There you
week,
go.
I'll change all the templates. and-
Johnny Dev.
Yeah.
Johnny Dev. There you go. Okay. Anyway, you've
Not
got
quite as famous as Johnny Depp.
No. But better looking.
Maybe with less money troubles. I hear he's in quite a bit of hot water.
Oh dear.
We'll get on to the real news.
The real news, the Yellowhead Center. The story there, Ann Kaharski's been there for 18 years and some changes in Yellowhead coming along.
As you said, Ken, that's correct. A story 18 years in the making. So many improvements. Actually, I shouldn't use the term improvements. Let me rephrase. So many changes that have been going on at the Yellowhead Center as of late. There's one more change, a significant change that's going to be happening, and it's going to be happening very quickly. The manager of operations, Ann Koharski, everyone in Neepawa knows her. She's done such a tremendous job
Yes.
with the Yellowhead Center. She, as of September 1st, had indicated that she has given her letter of resignation. She is stepping away from the position as the operational manager for the Yellowhead Center. This is a major change. She's been there, as Ken said, since 1999, so she's seen so many things come and go. So I had an opportunity to speak with her the other day to talk about the experience of operating a facility as unique as the Yellowhead Center. And take this with you. It is a unique functional facility. It's not like anything you see in other communities because it is essentially community run, volunteer run. So there's a lot of different sort of peaks and valleys that come with something like that. She talks a little bit about that. It was very intriguing to hear about the experience. And I think, personally, I know she will be missed. I mean, there's so many ins and outs of that job that she knows. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes from here.
Yeah, the facility has upgraded hugely over the years that Ann has been there, and it's accelerated the last couple of years, of course, with this year very visual or visible improvements with the new boards and the center clock. Last year, the lighting, the ceiling,
The new painting on the seats.
the new painting on the seats, the not so visible dehumidifier, but in an arena insulation. Yeah. In a arena, you have to nowadays have a dehumidifier, otherwise the place is just fogged up, something terrible. So anyway, Ann will be missed, there's no question. I've worked with her for a lot of years as chairman of the board,
You've been
past
on the
chairman.
board for a long time, haven't you?
You've been on every board for a long time.
Well, I've probably been on that board since, I don't know, 8, 10 years now, I guess. Yeah, 8 years, I guess. I don't know. Time flies when you're having
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. In the story, I thought it was interesting. She talked about how the facility has changed in terms of what it does and what the demands are. For someone who's a bit interested in that, I found that an interesting part of the story.
You're going to have an opportunity to see that, as Kate said, in this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner. I wish I had a little more time to sort of delve in, but I'm sure as this story develops, we're going to have an opportunity to sort of see how it plays out. And of course, when the new individual is hired, we're going to have a chance to sit down with that person as well.
Yeah, there's an ad in the paper today for that position, and we've actually already, there's been some interest expressed, and we'll see what the resumes look like. What's the big idea? That's a big question.
It is.
What's the big idea?
So this is the third year that there's going to be, I guess it's an entrepreneurship conference, they call it. So the first 2 years, it was a partnership between the Economic Development Offices of Neepawa and Minnedosa. This year they've added a third. They've added Carberry.
Wow.
So the event is actually going to be held in Carberry. So last year it was in Neepawa, year before it was in Minnedosa. This year it's in Carberry. So it opens up the door to more entrepreneurs to take part. It also opens up the door to some more prizes and funding. So they haven't quite finalized everything yet. The event is October 19th. But they're looking at having at least $35,000 worth of prizes, which some of them are cash. I know there is a municipal lot that can be given out. And so this is really cool to see how this has grown, because there are a number of businesses that got their start because of this event. We look at Inspire Studio in Minnedosa, there's For You Home Decor in Neepawa, which were two of the prize winners from the inaugural year. Still in operation, still kind of filling a really neat niche, and so I would say this event has been quite successful. It is open to anyone with a new business or a change in their existing business. So for example, if they want to get into exporting, if they want to introduce a new product line. So if you want to make a change to your existing business, you're eligible as well. Participants have a chance to meet with funding partners and support groups, support organizations that support entrepreneurship. And they also have a chance to pitch to a panel of experts for their chance to win some money.
What I find intriguing about that, as you mentioned, Kate, so many businesses that have been established, but it's not just sort of the quote-unquote standard business.
No, it isn't.
I remember the story we did last year about a young lady from Neepawa, and that was.
So that's really cool too, is that we have such a range of entrepreneurs that are participating. So one of the award winners was Kennedy Baker. She was in grade 12 at NACI, and my understanding is last week the shoes that she pitched actually went on sale in the Jet store.
Cool.
So
They're pretty neat shoes.
Yeah, they are really neat
They
shoes.
probably wouldn't look that good on me. But
You should buy a pair and try. I mean, you'd be supporting a local business.
I would.
And,
Yeah.
definitely an intriguing story. If you want to go into the archive at mywestman.ca,
Yeah.
you can check that story
Yeah,
out.
that was a really cool story.
Well, you did a column this week.
Yeah.
Trucking Week?
Yeah, I did. So we're talking a bit about Trucking Week later on, and my column was about Trucking Week. And I think that we can pretty well all concur that our communities would not be what they are without the trucking industry. Whether we look at direct employment, within our office we have two people.
Two people at least. Yeah.
Yeah, two people at least who, their husbands are professional drivers. I mean, I guess even within our business, we employ drivers, not not hauling big rigs, but we've got people whose job is to drive our paper around. The office supplies that we sell come by truck. It's pretty hard to underestimate it's pretty hard to overestimate the importance of the industry.
Well, there's 2 or 3 of our people are farmers as well, and on their farms they have semi-trailer trucks now.
And without trucks, they couldn't get their product to market. What's the point
No.
of growing it if you can't
No.
sell it somewhere?
Precisely, yes.
Yeah.
Well, never could get it to market without some kind of trucking conveyance, but they're so big now. Like they're so big.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And the interesting thing, we've talked a lot about changes in small towns, and some small towns really losing their business sectors, and trucking jobs have allowed people to stay in small towns even as quote unquote local jobs have dried up. So it's really important to the sustainability of small towns as well.
My column this week is a little. I don't know if people are going to like it or not.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's a good seed to plant. I think you should talk about it.
Well, it's only 14 months till the next municipal election.
Snuck up on us, hasn't it?
Last election was in 2014, October, November, whenever it is.
You hadn't been with us long then. I think that was the first big story that we worked
It was
on.
about a month and a half I'd
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
here.
And the point I try to put forward in the column this week is that communities do have a choice. If you're happy with your mayor and council, then there's lots of reasons to be happy in many communities with your mayor and council. That's all well and good, but an election is important, and it's really not a good thing when council seats or the mayor seat, Reeve, is won by acclamation. There should be an election, and in some cases, in communities where if you're not happy with the council or the direction of the community, this is the one time every 4 years that you get a chance to make a statement about where you want your community to go. And if you don't make that statement, then I guess complaining is kind of off the agenda for you for the next 4 years. I ended up with a statement that's been attributed to many different people over the years, not the least of which was Pierre Elliott Trudeau. But it goes along this line. I don't know if he originated the statement, but is that if you don't get involved with politics, you are doomed to be governed by those who do. You get the government you deserve, plain and simple. Doesn't matter whether it's federal, provincial, or municipal, we get the governments we deserve. And if we want to change that, the power is there for us to change that. And I just put the challenge out there to communities to do that. And the other underlying challenge that I've been fighting for a long time, because when I came to this community in 1971, I think I was 22 or 23 years old and was involved with committee work within 6 weeks of arriving in the community and have been involved in one committee or another ever since. So that's 46 years or whatever it is. There's very few 22, 23-year-olds, with all due respect, involved in committee work. There's very few 32-year-olds. There's a few. You're one of them. You're not 32, but I mean that general.
Close
Here.
enough.
There is some 40-year-olds, but unfortunately a lot of the committees and the councils are positions are held by people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And it's time for renewal, plain and simple.
Not to play the devil's advocate here, Ken, but I will
Go ahead.
I will throw out the counter argument
That's out of
on
character
this.
for you.
Yeah.
You're wrong, Ken, and here's why. No.
Now these Irish.
Ken, your article, it brings up so many valid points, but the question I have, as you say, so many young people aren't getting involved, so many 30-year-olds, so many 40-year-olds. I ran into this, I used personal experience myself. I was involved with an organization but had stepping away just because of time restraints. And I find when talking to people as well, that's the excuse they always use. There's just not enough time in the day. How is it then that we make people sort of see that, if it's important enough, you find the time?
Well, that's true. It's a matter, I guess in terms of finding the time, it's a matter of priorities. And what the council does over the next, or your local organization for that matter, but what the council does in your community, whatever community you're in, over the next 4 years, is going to drastically affect A, the viability of your community, and B, the tax load. And if you don't have viability in the community, then the tax load is going to become absolutely unbearable. I'm almost 70 years old. If I live another 10 years, 20 years, whatever, I don't know. But the people of your generation, theoretically, are going to be bearing the load.
We're going to pay for the decision the old farts make.
Bingo. Bingo. So,
The interesting thing I thought that you pointed out was the need for a proactive recruitment committee. And I think that, in my case, what held me back from joining organizations in the past was that I was never asked. And people maybe don't know what positions are open, or they don't know what it involves. And, I think that, for the most part, the organizations that I've been involved in, I've got involved because someone has said, we have an open board seat, would you consider joining us?
Yeah.
And that's not really going on at the council level. And I think that that was an important point that you brought up, is the need in a community to identify people who might be of interest and have an avenue for people who might be who might be interested to approach someone and say, look, I'm kind of interested in this. What can you tell me more?
there's a bit of a disincentive for the councillors or the Reeve or mayor to hunt more people up because they might be out of a job.
Exactly, and I mean,
bet
ever
so.
so many of them are looking to step down, but for the most part, they want to get reelected.
Yeah.
So there is, as you say, there's certainly a disincentive to sitting council members to encourage others to run. And you can't blame them, that's human nature, but there is certainly a need for someone to step into that position to identify people who should run, or who should think about it, or who should maybe have it on their radar.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, it boils down to put up or shut up.
That was politer than your old fart comment. I might.
In related news, this might be the last week that I get to participate in this show. I may have to make an apology next week. We'll see how it all pans out.
I don't think so. Anyway, sports, hockey. We're getting close to hockey season.
Yeah, because
Owen,
we
what
haven't talked about hockey at all
Not all
in the
summer.
last few months.
Right,
Not
exactly.
once.
We've kept that on ice.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Owen, go ahead.
Now I get fired from the show.
I can't follow that. Hockey's coming up.
Natives training camp.
Back to you, Kate.
Natives training camp.
Yes, they had training camp last weekend. In and around 90 participants that were involved. They've whittled it down to about 28. They still have to make a few more cuts to the roster.
What's the final roster number?
Final roster number, I believe, for the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, they can hold 23 players, I believe,
I think so.
during the season. So there's going to be about 5 that are going to be cut for sure. So it's crunch time right now, and what we have is the creme de la creme when it comes to Junior A hockey right now. These are talented young players, and I talked to Dustin Howden and Miles Cathcart, the head coach and the general manager for the Neepawa Natives, respectively. Talked to them about the camp and about the exhibition season and about some of the things they're going to be looking for from these players, because this is the time where it really matters, where you want to put the spotlight on yourself. They had some very intriguing answers. You're going to have an opportunity to see that in this week's edition of the Banner. They're going to be looking out for that certain player, that certain one that stands out. And in the exhibition season, that's where, it really comes out in them. It's their time to shine.
Yeah.
How many exhibition games do they have before they have to finalize the roster?
For the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, they have 6 exhibition games, 3 at home, 3 on the road. Neepawa Natives, depending on what time you watch this, Neepawa Natives' first game is going to be on Friday. That's going to be on the 8th, I believe. Yes.
8, yeah.
Yes. And then their first home game will be the following night on the 9th. So they play about 6 games in about a week to 10 days. And then they get into the quote-unquote real games.
The real games, yeah. Yeah, they use the rookies a lot in the exhibition games. They try shifting the lines around. And, it's nice to win an exhibition game, but that isn't the coach's.
Count.
Not near as much. Doesn't count in the standings, and they're looking to test the limits of what their players are wanting to do and can do. So, anyway, then we had a golf event too. Was pretty significant. The Rose Bowl on.
That's right. That's right. We had the annual Rose Bowl event at the Neepawa Golf and Country Club. It's a match play event. What that means essentially is that 2 golfers compete against one another, and the lowest score on each hole wins that hole. Whoever has the most victories at the end of 18 moves on to the next round. It's interesting. It's because golf, in a lot of ways, is you against yourself, and in this case, it's you against somebody else.
So how many rounds did it take to decide the winner?
The Rose Bowl, if I remember correctly, they play 4 rounds.
Okay.
So it's like a playoff bracket for hockey or something like that, where it's down from 16 to 8 to 4 to 2. And they're broken up into, if I remember correctly, about a dozen flights. A flight is sort of the handicap. It's like the handicap you have. So the championship flight, the best players are out there. First flight, just a little bit less. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and so on. For the championship flight this year, a very familiar name is going to be etched on the trophy. There's a reason it's familiar. It's been on there twice before. Mark Kirkowicz of the Neepawa region has been able to successfully claim this year's version of the Rose Bowl. He'd won it 2 years in a row. He won it in 2014 and in 2015, so this is nothing new to him. I had a chance to speak with him as well. You can check out those quotes in this week's edition of the Banner. And once again, congratulations to everyone who was involved.
Cool. There's a feature, a highlight of the fall coming up. The Terry Fox run.
Yeah, so I guess Canada has a lot of heroes, but I think this one kind of really stands out, don't you?
Oh yes, no question.
I think it's hard to talk about inspirational Canadians without talking about Terry Fox. So we have the Terry Fox run coming up on September 17th. I believe 3 communities in the area are hosting runs. There will be Neepawa, Minnedosa, and Gladstone are hosting runs. There's information about the run times, the length. Obviously, you can walk them as well as run them, and whether they're open to bicycles, rollerblades, and pets in this week's edition of the banner. But I think it's interesting to kind of look at the numbers again. So, the Terry Fox's run actually started April 12th, 1980, when he dipped his toe in the water at St. John's, and it ended September 1st, 1980 as well. And by that point, he had been running for 143 days, and he'd covered 5,373 kilometers.
Wow.
Before he was, I guess, grounded because his cancer had come back. So that's a really long-running, that's a pretty long-running legacy, and these runs have raised a lot of money for cancer research, and have made a huge impact on a lot of people's lives.
I can remember that.
Yeah,
You
I
can't.
can't.
No, you can't. You can't. I can remember it.
I wasn't born yet.
No, I was. We were. It was back in my farming days.
Yeah.
So I remember that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, the pictures of him running are pretty iconic too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, we've got a little event coming up.
You did a really interesting story this week, and
Yeah.
it's a really interesting story. I hope that you can share a little bit about it.
Well, many years ago, in 1953 to 1958, long before my time in the community, there was a pastor at Calvary Chapel Church by the name of Ray Culver, and he and his wife were here a long time ago, obviously, and they moved on from here after being here with a fairly successful time in Neepawa as far as the church goes, and they moved on, I believe, to Fort Francis in Ontario, and then into the United States, different places in the United States. But his son, Rodney Culver, was raised here somewhat. He wasn't born here, but he went through his first 3 years of school here, Rodney Culver, and then took up his father's trade and became a minister, and he is a pastor in Houston, Texas. No, pardon me, Dallas, near Dallas, Texas. And Houston's on our mind because of the flooding, sorry. And he is just about ready to retire, and he's coming back through the places that his dad was pastoring and where he lived, and asking if he can preach in the church. And so he's going to be at Calvary Chapel on the 10th of September to preach here. And so we're looking forward. I've talked to him on the phone. We're looking forward to meeting him. And we've met a few people in the community who remember his dad and remember him. And so it's going to be interesting to hear his story, but he's very close to retirement age now, so that's going to be interesting to see him. So anybody's welcome that wants to come. I'm sure he'd like to meet people who knew his parents or maybe knew him when he was living here, but he's almost my age. I'm 70 years old, almost 70, and just like I am, and so he was in grade 3 when he left, so he was only about 9 years old. So it's 60 years ago that he left here, basically. So we've got a sister city. Neepawa's got a sister city in Mexico.
It's unofficially official yet. There's still some I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed south of the border, much south of the border. But a story we've shared with you previously, Neepawa and the city of Salvatierra were decided to become sister cities. Representatives from that community, which is in central Mexico, about an hour northwest of Mexico City, decided to partner on this. It's taken about a year to get to this point. Earlier this month, actually late in August, I should say, our mayor, Adrian de Groot, formally signed the agreement to become a partnership, a sister city with Salvatierra. Right now, the mayor of that community is planning on signing it during Mexican Independence Day, which is going to be coming up in about a week's time. So it's wonderful. It's more ceremonial than anything else, but it's nice to see that type of outreach from our community.
So is that, I didn't dig into this story at all, but is that the city where High Life has a plant? Is that near where High Life is, or is it anything to do with that?
Technically, yes, but not really. High Life, of course, one of the major businesses of Neepawan area, has subsidiary businesses. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name of that business, but they do have a facility that is located in Salvatierre. So that was the reason. It was more of a trade delegation that came up with some politicians and representatives from that area, and that's how the ball started rolling.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. We talked a little bit earlier about Trucking Week, Kate.
Yeah,
We're getting
so
close to the end of our
actu-
time here, but tell us about Trucking Week.
So this week right now is Trucking Week, and it is actually celebrated nationally to recognize the importance of the industry. And this year we have been able to publish a separate section commemorating Trucking Week, which is pretty exciting. We've been doing a Trucking Week feature for maybe 6 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to see that we've been able to build on it to the point where it's a standalone feature. So I would encourage you to pick that up. You can read some interesting stories about the industry. You can also read some firsthand accounts from a local truck driver. And what I think is pretty cool is we've got some pictures that readers and us as well have collected of trucks at work, trucks from the region at work. So I thought that was a pretty cool addition to this year's feature too. So yeah, it'll be in this week's Neepawa banner, and I encourage and Rivers banner.
Yep.
Yeah, and I encourage you to pick it up and take a look.
Yeah, we depend heavily when you're on trucking. You're talking earlier there about the trucking industry, and I've often thought when I sit at the side of the road and watch trucks go by, whatever, if we shut the trucks down, the grocery shelves would start to empty in about 3 days.
Yeah.
That just-in-time inventory thing applies to food
Yeah.
as much as any other product,
Yeah.
but we would be out of food in the stores in a week for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I know that we live across the street from the Safeway store, and I think there's at least 6 or 8 trucks a day pull in there every day except Sunday.
Yeah.
No, it's quite the business.
It's a bit of a hiding in plain sight industry.
Oh, yeah.
It's the trucks going by are just kind of part of the background, but when you stop to think about what all they're carrying, you realize just how important it is.
Yeah. And we had some changes this week to the banner's auto issue.
Yeah, so we've talked about our auto feature in the past. We used to run it monthly. We're aiming to run it weekly. We've had some good support from our auto advertiser customers. So if you're looking for a new car, be sure to pick up this week's edition of the banner. We've got 3 quite big car ads and some ads from local automotive support services, and a kind of interesting story about a car collector as well.
That is a nice story.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Those car collectors are dedicated.
They sure are.
Money and time
Oh,
to make.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, tell us where people can watch our show. If they catch it done, they can watch it again, or they can tell their friends and neighbors.
Yeah, so maybe if you joined us halfway through and you want to know when you can watch the first half, or maybe you liked it so much you want to watch it again, you can watch the story behind the stories, on NECTV, which is channel 12 in Neepawa, MTS 30, or Bell 592. Unless the schedules change, we are Tuesday at 7 p.m., Wednesday at 11:30 a.m., Thursday at 7 p.m., Friday at 12 noon, Saturday at 6:30, or on demand on the Neepawa Banner's Facebook page. We upload it usually on Thursdays, maybe Friday mornings, but usually on Thursdays, and you will find it under videos. And you don't need to be on Facebook to see it. You just have to find it there.
There you go. And if you have any questions about that or anything else to do with the show or the newspapers, you can phone us at 204-476-3401. That seems like such dated technology now.
One
Owen.
quick question on that. When can they join us in a live studio audience setting?
When?
Yes.
Anytime they want.
Anytime you want to come down.
At 10:30 on Thursday.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, we have sound troubles, and then it's 10:40.
We can set up the bleachers from the Yellowhead in
Well,
each section.
Someone can flash the applause sign.
As I sit right here right now, we have seating for 4. But we could make more room, but you
Well,
can't.
you could be standing room only. I
Yeah,
mean, this
you-
could be that hot a ticket.
You can't heckle, though. You're not allowed to heckle. You'll be escorted out of the studio if you heckle. Anyway,
We'll bring Derek down to
Yes.
run security.
Derek's
for
our
us.
enforcer. Anyway, Okay, thank you very much for watching the story behind the stories, and we appreciate you being with us. So sure to watch next week, and as always, you can contact us at the phone number or at news@neepawabanner.com, or you can drop into the NAC TV studios. They're open 4 days a week, Monday to Friday, basically 9 to 4, and that's at 423 Mountain Avenue in downtown Neepawa. Thank you very much for watching.